Outlook. Each week, Outdoor Outlook highlights fishing, hunting, camping, and all other outdoor recreation available in the North Idaho area. And now your host, Joe Peak.
We would like to welcome you to our third segment of Outdoor Outlook, actually our third show. And my guest for our third show, since summer is really coming on to us really quickly with the weather and Memorial Day fastly approaching, is John Lynch, who is a supervisory forester here with the Wallace Ranger District. And I guess I'll turn it over to John to say, what is a supervisory forester? We were just talking about that. Sounds like a heck of a title, John.
Well, it is, but I have a lot of different jobs, but recreation trails are in my shop. All the road maintenance, the road management, and all those gates out there are under my shop. We also are in charge of the Shoshone Work Center, all the volunteers and the human resources, also law enforcement. Terry Smith is our law enforcement officer and works for me. So.
Well, you have quite a job then, John.
Well, it keeps me busy.
I'll bet. And with the new coming season on, I bet you'll really be hard pressed.
We're real excited about the season because we've got a lot of things going.
Well, I guess that's what we'll turn to right away, is that the North Fork seems to be just the place to go.
Oh, it's beautiful up there, Joe. This is the time of the year to be up there. This weather's great to be up to North Fork. So.
Probably, you're probably saying, why am I here in front of a television camera when I should be probably up there at the river? Could talk a little bit about some of the camping areas for tourists and locals. Well, there's a lot of people here that probably haven't done much camping up there. Could you tell us a little bit about the Forest Service facilities available up the North Fork?
Okay, there's 4 campgrounds on up the river that are fee campground, or 3 of them are fee and 1 of them is a non-fee, and that's Berlin Flats up Shoshone Creek. Mm-hmm. And that's a small campground that is available for 9 units.
I see.
Okay, and then if you start on up the river past the Shoshone Work Center, a few miles up the river is the Kit Price Campground, which is our largest, and we will have 2 hosts in there this summer.
Oh, great.
And we also have one a few miles on up the river called Devil's Elbow, which is already open. And we'll have a host in that campground. And then quite a ways up the river is Big Hank Campground, and that is already open. And the Silver Valley RV Good Sam's Club has adopted that one this summer, and they're going to host it all summer long. So there'll be one of the Good Sam's staying in there each week, and Walt Copel will be moving in Monday. So
Walt's going to be up there at
Walt and Flo.
Oh, that's great. Well, it'd be nice to see some locals, and they're real familiar with the area, so they'll be able to take care of people from out of the area really well.
Oh yeah. In fact, the host at Kit Price is Howardine Smeltzer from Osborne, and we just recently presented her with the National Award for her activities up the river. She was one of the original hosts, her and her husband Charlie. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, this host program is really an interesting way of doing the campgrounds. It sure adds some character to the campgrounds too with those folks, because they've been around quite a while.
Oh, they're great.
And it's always nice that and I assume from the point of supervising the campgrounds, it keeps things from getting torn up too.
It has a presence right there, and they can answer questions, and yes, it's keeps people quieted down, and there's always a few people that move in and want to play their music so everybody else can't sleep or something, but it really works out well to have a host there, yes.
Oh, that's great. Now, which campgrounds are open? Now, you have Big Hank that's open, and Devil's Elbow?
And Berlin Flats. There's 3 of the 4 are open, and we should open Kit Price on Monday, so it'll be open for Memorial Day, but we may not have the water system open. We're having generator problems there. So.
Now, we were talking about that, right. So we may have to have some self-contained units going there. Kit Price, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah, most of these new rigs are pretty fancy, and hopefully that's where they'll go. So.
Now, you were talking about a project. You have a picnic area up there too, also?
Okay, and both we have actually several picnic areas, but the one Avery Creek is right just about 4 miles or 5 miles past Babin's store. So it's a pretty little picnic area. It'll be open here. We just got the water test back. It was positive, so we'll get it open here just in the next day or 2. Okay.
And this is for like day day picnics, it's no overnight camping.
Day use only. It's a good place to launch your boats or rafts, I should say, or canoes, and it's just right on the river, so it's just a beautiful sight.
I see. And of course there are some other campgrounds that are pretty informal up the river too that a lot of people use. I know a lot of people like to go up to the old, is it Hawk's Eye?
Right, the Hawk's Eye, and then there's like the one at Jordan campground. Right. It's an unimproved site up the river. That there's also the one in Lost Creek, which is a really beautiful site. Just got a brand new accessible toilet. We're working in on that one. There's several up Shoshone Creek, and there's several more up the river. There's a lot of places to camp.
Oh, that's true. Of course, the big thing is just if you pack it in, pack it out. And I know you kind of spearheaded a plan to clean up the river, and I know us folks that live out on the river are really appreciative of that, John. And I guess this is a good good time to put in a word for people to think about this when they're camping this year, particularly around Memorial Day.
Yeah, we'll keep having the river cleanup every year around May 1st. We like to have it the day before Bloomsday so you can get warmed up for Bloomsday. But we always are handing out garbage bags that day at either at Dinaville Resort or up at Babe and Store. We've had real good success, but yes, if you're up in the woods, please bring your trash out with you. It's a very costly proposition for us to have to remove all the trash from each of the campgrounds and unimproved sites too.
Well, that's true, and for the people that have the self-contained units, Shoshone Work Center is a real good place to know too.
Yes, we have a dump station at Shoshone. We should have it up and running before Memorial Day also. It's a good place to get water and also dump your sewer there. And we also have a brand new accessible toilet. Just went in there, so at the site.
Well, that's really good, because those are real important items that these self-contained people need. And we know if we don't have them, we know sometimes where these things go, and we sure want to stop that. And of course the thing with potable water too. They'll be able to stop in there and fill up their water tanks and go up the river and for a couple of days or so. And if Kip Price per se doesn't have the water going, people could just stop at Shoshone Work Center and fill up and go up the river.
We should also have a volunteer host at the work center so they can stop and ask for information and get maps there. So.
Now, you usually have an emergency phone there too at the work center?
In fact, there's a payphone right outside the office, so that's always there. And then if under an emergency when the office is open, there's somebody in there.
And that's a good one to realize, that everyone to know that's there, because I think that's probably the furthest upriver phone there is for that's accessible to the public.
Yes, it is.
And I know it's probably been used a few times when people have been lost or stranded or whatever, so that's a good thing to know. I guess we're going to wrap up this first segment, and we'll be back again after a commercial break with John Lynch from the Wallace Ranger District.
The following businesses would like to invite you to this year's Pinehurst Days. Pinehurst Days, Generations of Fun, May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Don't miss out on the fun of Pinehurst Days. We'll see you there.
I don't know if this is right. Dad?
When you need help and you need it fast...
Mommy?
Reach for the best source for quick information, the Black Book.
If you don't clean up this room right now, I'm gonna...
Got a nice little airplane. On my bid, 2.5, and now 3, now 3.5.
Keep your business in the black with your North Idaho phone book, your best source for quick information.
And now we return to Outdoor Outlook.
We're back again after a commercial break, and again our guest is John Lynch from the Wallace Ranger District. He's a supervisory forester, and we're going to talk a little bit about one of his pet projects, and it's not a pet project. John has really been instrumental in doing a lot of the trails in our forest here, and kind of turn it over to John about some of the trails available and some of the things that the Forest Service is going to be doing this year. I know they got some monies from the Private Industry Council, which is called PIC money, to do some more work on trails. So John, take it over.
Okay. Well, historically we've had at least one crew from the Private Industry Council, and we've been working on the state line trail up by Cooper's Pass, and we're been improving that trail, and we're slowly heading towards Thompson Pass on that trail, and each year we get at least another mile or so built of that, rebuilt of that trail, and I tell you, that's a beautiful trail. You get up there and you can look right back into Glidden Lake. It's just a beautiful sight. Okay, we also have another trail that does take off at Thompson Pass that goes into Rivette Lake, and that's a short trail, but it's very, very pretty up in there. And when you drop on down towards Eagle Creek and go up into the Settlers Grove, that we are coming up with a potential project that will be a loop trail in there, but at the present time there's a trail that goes to the Settlers Grove and goes all the way to the top of the mountain to the road on top, and there's 9 bridges on there. I counted them one year, so I know there's 9 bridges, and that it goes through this old ancient grove of cedars that are just huge, and it's got Devil's Club and some beautiful other plants in there that are really pretty. So it's well worth your time to go in there. If you go on up the Coeur d'Alene River, we have one really nice little area is in Yellow Dog Creek, and that's the access to Fern and Shadow Falls. And there's a short trail segment that takes you up to the upper part of the falls. They're both on the same creek. Mm-hmm. And then we have a fairly new trail in Flat Creek, and it's called the Centennial Falls, and that was the project that 3 Eagle Scouts worked on here a couple of years ago, and they have won the National Take Pride in America Award with their projects. But it's about a half-mile trail, and it goes up to this little falls that kind of looks like a hanging Japanese garden. It's really pretty. One of the things we're also working on with the Private Industry Council crew this year will be a hookup from Silver Mountain into the Forest Service trails. And eventually, my dream is to be able to ride a mountain bike or hike from Thompson Pass all the way to Silver Mountain. So you'd come through Lookout on the way, and then come down the St. Joe Divide Trail. And we have several segments of that trail done, but it's going to take a lot more work in the near future. The third PIC crew we have this year is going to be working in Graham. And we have existing trails in Graham and Coal Creek with a new connection trail up on top. Mm-hmm. And what we're hoping is here in the near future is to have the old Pritchard Enaville Stage Road rebuilt and during the summer it'd be open to mountain bikes and hiking, and in the winter it's a beautiful cross-country ski chance. So that's what we're shooting for. The Private Industry Council crew will be working in that area. I'll have part of my own crew working in that area. I have a trail crew run by Jerry Wombolt out there, okay, and he's on the local council here in Kellogg, so he's really good at running the crew, and the crew's just excellent, and they're going to get a lot of maintenance done this year all over. We've got some beautiful trails all over the district. I would be more than happy as people stop in the ranger station or something, and we can talk about the trails. Lots of nice little mountain lakes that you can hike into or drive into, like Lake Elsie.
All right.
There's some lakes up around Lookout that we will have money probably next year to build some of the trails up into those lakes. So there's a lot of things happening in trails, Joe.
I see. John, now are you going to have some people up on Silver Mountain this year for your program?
As a matter of fact, we have for the second year we'll have the reception center open in coordination with Silver Mountain. One of the young ladies that graduated from Kellogg High School last year, Heidi Hopper, will be manning the booth up there this year, at least 5 days out of the 7. she's got displays coming from all over. Silver Mountain's been working on some, and we've been working on some, and so it should be a changing array of displays. So anytime you're up there, stop in and take a look at it. We'll have lots of brochures to hand out too. So,
well, I think that's one area where we've seen the federal government, the Forest Service, and private industry come together up on Silver Mountain. That was fairly unique, and to have a reception center on top of a mountain like this, I don't think there's that many of those situations around, are there, John? We're pretty...
Well, they probably, if they are, they're the real big areas. Maybe Big Mountain over there has one, but I don't know if too many are in our area. And, it's been a really, lots of people come up and ask questions about all kinds of things, you know.
Oh, yes. Well, I think that shows some of the ingenuity we've had in the valley to get people working together, and it seems like we've had a real good working relationship with everyone in the valley to get these trails going, and these trails are not just for hiking and biking. We get a lot of horse use on some of these trails too, don't we? These backcountry horses.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the backcountry horsemen out of the Coeur d'Alene, Spokane area have volunteered to maintain a trail again this year. They've done it several years, and they will be out probably in July, August, and do a lot of that state line trail as their maintenance, and it's been a really good cooperative agreement. We're quite willing for any other groups that would like to volunteer to work with one of our trails to do that. We have several individuals and a Boy Scout troop that do it now, but we'd be glad to have any other groups in the valley or outside the valley come in and work with us.
I think there's really only one trail in there that isn't for horses. Is that the Rivette Lake Trail?
The Rivette Lake Trail is for foot traffic only.
I see. And if you've ever been in there, you could understand that it's a beautiful trail. It's a short trail, but it is really across some real high type country. Probably has a lot of wildflowers that aren't found in other places. And it's across a couple rock slides. It would be a little bit difficult to get horses or motorized vehicles across anyway. So, but it's a beautiful area, that Rivette and some of those lakes up on Lookout. And sounds like you're going to have a busy summer this year with all your trail crews going.
We actually, with the 3 pit crews, we have 4 different trail crews actually working this summer, which each crew runs 6 people, so that's quite a few people.
Well, your work's going to be cut out for you, John. Well, we're going to take another station break here, and when we come back, we'll finish our show, our 3rd show on Outdoor Outlook. See you in a couple of minutes.
Hey, what makes Ace America's place for paint?
We make our own.
It's premium quality.
Your satisfaction's guaranteed.
Catering to the contractor as well as the do-it-yourselfer.
Trained crew of professionals ready to help with over 1,000 color selections.
At Ace Hardware in Kellogg, paint is always on sale. Always.
Hey, Ace is America's place for quality paint.
We toss them, they're awesome. Pizza Factory. Everywhere you look, you see a happy face. Every bite you take is an awesome taste. Everybody knows it's a family kind of place. We toss them, they're awesome. Pizza Factory.
When it comes to food and fun, we have the right ingredients for all ages. Pizza Factory. Visit us soon.
We toss them, they're awesome. Pizza Factory.
And now we return to Outdoor Outlook.
That Graham Creek area, one of the reasons that came about was one of the things you tied it in with a Forest Service timber sale. I can remember going up with Steve Williams, and he showed us where they had done a timber sale, I believe Burlingame and Thompson, and then you had done some outlooks over the river, and you had kind of tied in that cross-country ski trail.
Okay, sure. That's the Cinnabar Clarence timber sale.
Right.
Not too far downriver from Pritchard, and you can go along the river there and look up where they had logged through there, and you can't even tell because it was all partial cut. It's done with skyline, and it really looks nice. And the trail will go right through there, and we do have some money where my regular crew will be working on that portion of the trail. We actually designed in some little viewing areas so you can be on the trail and look down and see the river below you. which is just a beautiful sight, but you can be on the highway and you can't even see where we are up on the road there.
Well, I know that's a really interesting sight. I think you mentioned Jerry Wombolt. I believe Jack Wombolt was one of your men on that job.
Yeah, in fact, Jack was working in sail administration when they logged that sail, and he was the one that was down there every day with the sawyers and the guys hooking the logs. So he knows that ground pretty well.
Well, that's a really neat area because, like you said, from the road you can't even see the trail or vice versa, and it's a backside where there's no houses, there's no trails, there's no power lines. It's a really interesting wildlife area back there. And I think that'll be an area that, say, when you tie that whole area together with trails, it'll really open up some really beautiful wildlife areas to people.
For just watching for wildlife or going through an area that either in the winter or in the summer, it's really pretty country with the great views of the river and great views of lots of nice trees. And you cross some pretty little creeks in there. Right, there's several historical places along there too that we can highlight as we work on the trail. Since that is the old stage road, the old stage stations there, several old mining cabins and things. So that'll be pretty neat.
I think wasn't there one of those areas, was it Cinnabar Creek or Character Ridge, where they had was it the Chinese had an oven in there or something?
Well, actually, that was the kiln for the stage station. So, but it'll be highlighted in when we work on it.
Well, there's a lot of history up the North Fork there, and with your help and others, I assume people will be able to get to this and in and out a little bit better and open this ground up a little more.
One of the real historical things up the river is something that the Boy Scouts is working on up in Avery Creek. And that was the old chute logging camp about a mile up Avery Creek. And the Boy Scouts are working on a trail up in there as volunteers, and some Eagle projects coming up here this summer. In the next 3 to 5 years, we should have a trail system in place and maybe some of the old chutes rebuilt so we can see them. There's parts of it still in the creek up there, but here in the 3 years, I should be able to get you up to the old logging camp.
Well, that'll really be interesting because when you talk to some of the old loggers, Warren Van in particular, he tells us a little bit about some of the old dry chutes and then some of the flumes they had, and that's part of our history, and I think people are getting more into this every day and want to see what it was like and what it is now. And we were talking a little bit earlier that some of this is kind of redoing some of the things that were done in earlier years where the only equipment that could go up went right up in the bottom of the creeks, and part of your job is to kind of stabilize some of this and turn it around into more compatible sites now.
Right, and sure are.
But there's going to be a lot of recreational opportunities up the river this year, and of course this last weekend, the Moon Saddle Bike Club, Mike Domi and Gary Mitchell and Tanya Magadan from the Silver Mountain, they all had a bike and float, and they put in there at Pritchard at the bridge where you can go down by the little campsite there, and they floated to Enaville. Only took them 4 hours to float, so you know the river was really running high, and it was a little off color. And if you're going to float the river right now, you better know something about canoeing or kayaking because it's really running high.
There could easily be some trees down into the river or even coming down with all that water.
Well, that was really interesting that Gary Mitchell was mentioning that just before some of the people put in at the Pritchard Bridge, downstream they watched a cottonwood go right down into the river, right across, and thank the Lord that the current caught it and took it over to the side because that would have made one terrible sweeper.
And, it would be real easy, too, for you to get swept into those branches or under them, so you have to really be careful this time of year.
And that's, we had a group go up the Little North Fork also. They put in up by Honeysuckle, I believe. They were going to go that high and then come down to Copper Creek. And, of course, they were pretty advanced canoers, but again, the big thing is that Little River runs so fast, so cold, and you come around one of those bends and you see a sweep, a log right across. You're either going to have to scrunch down or you're going to have to do and you might be in it too far to even go around it. So the big thing is now is just, if you're going to float the river, be really knowledgeable.
Be careful. It would be really pretty right now, but it's everything's starting to bloom out and look really nice up there.
Well, the river did drop from Saturday, Sunday to today, and we're taping this on Tuesday morning. It's dropped that probably from about 6,000 CFS, and it looks like it's running down around probably 4,000 now. It dropped considerably over the weekend, and for the people that are looking at fishing, which starts in a week from this Saturday, the 29th, Memorial Day Saturday, I think everyone's starting to take a look at it, and it's looking pretty good. And we're hoping that we have a good turnout weather-wise. We've had some good weather, which helps your job too.
Right. You know, one thing, we was talking about the campgrounds earlier, Joe, that on the 12th of June is the free camping day, along with the free fishing day. So,
well, that's one thing to keep in mind is you can go up and enjoy a day on the 12th of June and camp free and fish free. They usually have that. Is that in conjunction with Father's Day, or is it the weekend after? But anyway, it's a good time for the family to get out. And this is, I believe, a 3 or 4 state area, isn't it, that does it on this day? I think
I
so.
know that Idaho does.
I think Idaho and Washington and Montana all have decided on that one day, so it's a really good day to get the family out and go out and enjoy some camping and fishing. So until next week, I'd like to thank John Lynch, my guest from the Walls Ranger District. He's really given us some good information on camping and fishing and recreational activities in the National Forest here. And again, until next week, have a good week, good fishing.
Join Joe Peak every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. and 6 o'clock p.m. and Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. Outdoor Outlook is a presentation of West Star Cable Channel 3.
I love being active, but when back and neck pain were keeping me from enjoying life, I wanted relief. Nothing I tried helped until a friend told me about chiropractic care and how effective it is for the treatment of pain. He even accepted my insurance. You don't have to live with pain. Get back into the game with chiropractic care.